Hello, and welcome to this tutorial on installing Android Studio on Mac OS X. Today we're going to be installing it on Mac OS X Mavericks, but it should also work on any previous version of Mac OS X, and probably future ones too, as well as ones coming up like Yosemite. I haven't tested it there, but I have no doubt that it'll probably work. So let's go ahead and get to it. The first thing you want to do is download the image file from Google. So go ahead and fire up your favorite browser and do a quick Google search for Android Studio. And when it'll come up, click on the link here. Should be this first one. And it will present you with the download link here. First thing that I want to note is that this is a beta version of Android Studio. They haven't had the formal release yet. And being a beta version, it could be subject to a lot of bugs and a lot of issues, so I wouldn't recommend using this in a production environment quite yet until they get everything up and running and have a formal release, a general availability type of release. But in the meantime, it's greatly improved from previous versions, so it should be okay to go ahead and throw in your computer and start working with and doing a little development on. So if you click the download Android Studio link here, you're going to get a terms and conditions that you're going to have to agree to. So go ahead and click that you've read it and agree to it, and then hit the download button, and then the download will start. It'll also give you some various instructions here on how to do the install, but the purpose of this video is to show you how to do it. But feel free to go ahead and refer to them if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and pause the download because I already have the image downloaded and on my desktop. So we have it right here. If you go ahead and double click it and mount the image, give it a second, it'll bring up the install program here, and to install it all you need to do is simply drag it into the applications folder, and it'll go ahead and start unpacking everything and copying everything over to the applications folder. So we'll give this a few moments while it does this. It is relatively quick, shouldn't take a ton of time. So I'll go ahead and talk for a couple more seconds. Well, don't really have much to say while I'm sitting here waiting for it to copy. We are just about done anyway, so that's a good thing. Just about done. Okay. So once it's done, you can go ahead and exit the installer program here. If you want to unmount or eject the image, you can do that as well. And then go ahead and go into Finder, go to Applications, and now you should have the Android Studio app link. So go ahead and double click that to start launching it. You'll get this message that says Android Studio is an application downloaded from the internet. Make sure you want to open it. You do, because you trust it. So go ahead and hit open. That should be the only time that you see that notification. And we'll go ahead and give it a few moments here while the Android guy does his bouncing thing down there and the application initializes. It is a bit slow for the first time that you do it, first time that you open it. So have some patience, but it is still a little bit faster than Eclipse, I think, at the moment, ultimately, especially after you've gotten it going a couple times. So just be patient while it does its initialization. Okay, so this is the screen that you get when Android Studio comes up. It may tell you that it's ready to update, and I happen to know that there is an update available, 0.8.2, but we're not going to update at the moment, so go ahead and cancel out of this. So this is the initial screen. There's lots of things you can do here. You can start a new project, you can import a project, open a project, look at some documentation and things like that. We're not going to do any of that right now. What I do want to do, though, is go ahead and get the SDK Manager up and running and start downloading some of the SDKs that you're going to need, and then we'll probably go ahead and configure an Android virtual device as well. So to get the SDK up and running, go ahead and hit the configure button over here, and one of the things you have is SDK Manager, so click on that and it's going to start the SDK Manager. And so some of the stuff is going to be already installed by default. It comes with the package. Notice that there is an update available to the SDK tools. So you're going to want to, excuse me, you're going to want to go ahead and grab that. It's probably best to go ahead and grab the latest Android SDK as well, which is already got picked for you, the Android 4.4W, which is the Android Wear. So I'm actually going to not worry about that one because we're not going to develop for Wear here. And I forget what the L is, so we're going to not grab that one either. So go ahead and minimize those. So why don't we just go ahead and get the regular Android 4.4.2, get the SDK. Let's go ahead and get an ARM and an Intel image. And that's probably good for the moment. And then the Android support library is a good thing to have if you're going to be going back to like Gingerbread time to do some support. And then you also want the Google Play services if you're going to do BuzzTouch. So let's go ahead and install those packages. You need to accept the license. You have to click there first. Accept the license and do the install. This will take a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and then we'll come back after everything is downloaded and installed. Okay, we're just about done. Everything is downloaded and installed. So it says it's been updated, so we need to get OK. And we're going to go ahead and restart the Android SDK Manager. So we'll close that, and then we'll quit that, and then we don't actually need to go back in. All I'll do is go out and check for new packages and stuff. So we'll just assume that it's okay, but that is how you manage the SDK Manager. Now, I have not yet been able to find a way to do the Android virtual device setup without actually creating a project. So we're just probably going to have to go ahead and do that, but let's just explore here for a moment. So I'm not seeing anything in here. Go to the preferences. Nothing in plugins. So I think we're going to need to go ahead and start a new project in order to do the Android virtual device. So let's just go ahead and do a dummy project here to show you how this works. So I'm just going to leave all that as it is. Hit next. So the form factor, so the API 10 is probably the oldest one that you want to go for. You don't want to go anything older than that because it doesn't support with the support libraries anything new like fragments and some of the other stuff. We'll go ahead and leave that like that. And next. We'll just do blank activity with fragment for the heck of it. Next. And we'll just hit finish. So now we'll go ahead and generate the files for us. And it will take just a moment. So it's building all the files that we need. Shouldn't take too much longer. So this Gradle thing that you see here is the new compiler that's being used in Android Studio. So that's something that you're going to have to get used to. It's not part of the Eclipse ADT bundle. And it's going to go ahead and fire up the application here for us. It's going to go ahead and give you a tip of the day. And you can have those show on startup if you want, or not. Okay. So it goes ahead and opens a whole bunch of stuff for you by default. The thing we're looking for here is the Android Virtual Device Manager, or Android. That's the SDK Manager. There's the Android Virtual Device Manager. So let's go ahead and click that. And we're going to go create an Android virtual device for use in our projects. Cool thing while we're waiting is Android Studio has this little preview pane here, and it kind of gives you an idea of how stuff looks on various devices that they've already got preloaded, so that is kind of cool. And hopefully the Virtual Device Manager will be available momentarily. It is still just a little bit slow. Okay. So here's our Android Virtual Device Manager. It's seeing some other stuff. I'm not sure where that's from, so we'll go ahead and delete it. And say yes. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So why don't we just go ahead and call this BuzzTouch, because that's my favorite development platform. And the device is just making a Nexus 7. Target. I'm going to go ahead and target it with the latest API. We'll use the ARM thing there. It gives us a keyboard present. Skin it. With the dynamic hardware controls. Let's go ahead and give it no cameras. We don't need any of that. So we'll leave all the rest of the stuff just the way it is. Then just hit OK. What's the spinny? Whatever it's called with the Mac. If anybody wants to donate some money to give me some new memory, you just go ahead and let me know. Hit OK, and now we have our own Android virtual device. So that's how you create it. You can go ahead and start it if you want. You can edit it, and so on and so forth, but we're not going to do that for the purposes of this tutorial. So that is doing what we've done today is we've gone ahead and we have installed the Android Studio, the 0.8.0 beta build. We've gone ahead and gone in and configured the Android SDK Manager and downloaded some SDKs we're going to need. And we've gone ahead and configured the Android Virtual Device Manager and rather created some of the virtual devices or one virtual device that we can use for our projects. So that, in a nutshell, is how you install the Android Studio on Mac OS X Mavericks. Feel free to leave any comments if you have any questions, or if you just want to shout out, hey, good job. Thank you very much for watching the tutorial. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I look forward to getting you some new tutorials soon. Thank you very much, and have a good one. Happy developing.